In homes and screens our lights unite, classrooms stretch beyond four walls. Through every challenge day and night, our faith and growth still calls. Parents guide with gentle hands, teachers walk each step inside, together building future lands where values never hide. Though paths may shift and seasons change, our hearts stay close, our goals arrange. A journey set by trust and care, a mission we all share. These are the bridges we create, from school to home, from heart to heart. Learning grows and values shape, in every role we play our part. Work in progress day by day, hand in hand we find our way.
Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat.
Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening sa inyong lahat.
Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
Ako nga pala si Jean Kenneth M. Ilagan.
Ako si Louis Benedict Ignacio.
I am Albert Alvin H. De Jesus.
This is Dr. Giselle Barion.
This is Telma Maranya.
This is Attorney Dwight Ramos.
I am Dr. Evelyn Songko and I am happy to be with you.
Ikinagagalak ko makasama kayo lahat sa isa na namang makabuluhang kwentuhan dito sa Bridges.
Excited naman ako sa introduction mo, Dr. Louis. And I'm really so excited to be here.
It's really my pleasure to be invited here because this is a very good platform po. Not to be only bridging faith, hope, and love, but at the same time bridging the bond between the alumni and their alma mater.
Kaya tayo merong Santa as a culminating activity of our devotional practices to the Blessed Mother, because all devotions to the Blessed Mother should always lead to Jesus.
Ang mga popular na issues sa mga Pilipino, no? Yung mga may kinalaman sa sikmura, mga economic issues, trabaho, inflation. Pero kahit ganyan pa, makikita na ang mga Pilipino nagbibigay ng attention sa mga political issues gaya ng West Philippine Sea issue.
We need our future generations to meet their own needs without sacrificing also yung mga needs natin na nararanasan natin ngayon. So we need this clean air, malinis na hangin, malinis na tubig, yung lupa natin hindi pa poison, then okay pa yung mga karagatan natin, okay pa yung mga kabundukan natin.
O kaya naman dati maayos ang pagsasamahan ng mag-asawa, bigla na lang may nangyayari na hindi nila inaakala at yung kanilang family bond humihina. Pati yung relasyon nila sa Diyos biglang humihina.
I love you. I love Jesus, Holy Spirit, and Mama Mary. Thank you and God bless.
But it's not out there to, use taxpayers. Di pag nalugi yung taxpayers, di mo babawasan yung magbabayad ng tax.
First and foremost, we embrace change. We need to cultivate our passion for learning and to be flexible based sa Tomasian values ng commitment, competence, and compassion.
Go back to your core. When things are really, really tough, when you're going through transitions, when you're going through changes, go back to who you are as a person and as a leader. And at the same time, yung core values natin as Tomasians dati, perfect din parate as a guide for me. Always have to be competent, you always have to be committed, and more importantly, the compassion side of it is gonna be your edge in any kind of workplace that you're gonna be working.
Happy anniversary to Bridges! Here at Bridges, we build bridges of faith, bridges of hope, and bridges of love.
Magandang hapon po sa lahat.
Salamat po sa pag-imbita. So, welcome to our podcast titled Icons of Ink, a celebration of literary giants. So, here we will be talking about how the University of Santo Tomas appears to be a kind of breeding ground, no, of literary greats. And today we have with us two literary icons who know a thing or two about words, wit, and wisdom. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Levinandro Hernandez Lau, an alumnus of course, the UST Faculty of Arts and Letters, class of 2009, and currently the director of the Office for Grants, Endowments, and Partnerships in Higher Education of UST. And as an undergraduate, I was an editor and writer for the Varsitarian under one of our guests today, Dr. Lito Zulueta. And shortly after my graduation, I joined the team of Dr. Cristina Pantoja Hidalgo at the UST Publishing House, where we finished the 400 Books at 400 project. And for that, I'm very proud that we had some of the awards, like being named as publisher. It is great personal meaning that I now moderate the session featuring two of my sana tanggapin po nila, no? Two of my early mentors, Dr. Zulueta and Dr. Hidalgo. And first, let me introduce Dr. Cristina Pantoja Hidalgo. Dr. Hidalgo obtained a PhD, magna cum laude, from the UST Faculty of Philosophy and Letters, an MA in English Literature from UST Graduate School, and a PhD in Comparative Literature from UP. She writes fiction, nonfiction, and literary criticism. She has published more than 40 books and has won recognition for lifetime achievement in literature, including an international award, the Sea Right Award that is given by the royal family of Thailand. And of course, national awards like the Carlos Palanca Dangalang Lahi, the Gawad Balagtas, given by the Union ng Manunulat ng Pilipinas, and the UST Varsitarians Parangal Hagbong. She has also won awards for individual works like the Carlos Palanca Grand Prize for the novel, and several national book awards granted by the Manila Critics Circle and the NBDB. She has served as director of the UST Publishing House, the UP Press, and the Likhaan, which is the UP Institute of Creative Writing, and as vice president for public affairs of the University of the Philippines System. At present, Dr. Hidalgo is the director of the UST Center for Creative Writing and Literary Studies, and she is a professor emeritus of UP Diliman. So, Ma'am Jing, good evening po.
Good evening. Good evening, Levin.
Yes. And we also have Dr. Lito Zulueta. So, Dr. Zulueta is a veteran writer and journalist, editor, and with 4 decades of experience, having served as senior editor, editorial writer, and arts and culture editor of the Philippine Daily Inquirer. He teaches journalism, literature, and cinema at the Faculty of Arts and Letters of the University of Santo Tomas, where he is also a resident fellow of the Center for Creative Writing and Literary Studies. His accolades include the Carlos Palanca Award, National Book Award, and the Catholic Mass Media Award. Good afternoon po, Sir Dito. So
Good
welcome,
afternoon,
Dr.
Levin.
Hidalgo and Dr. Zulueta.
Good
Yes.
afternoon.
Yeah. By the way, USTO officially opened academic year 2025-2026 today, and we wish everyone a wonderful learning journey ahead. And talking about UST, perhaps we could start our segment with the UST, talking about UST as a cradle of literary luminaries. Yeah, Ma'am Jinx Relito. When we talk about of literature in UST, of course, a lot of names come to mind. Ang dami po. Siguro, when we mention all of their names, baka kulang ang 1 hour natin. But of course, we have, siguro, on top of mind would be the national artist. We have Nick Joaquin, F. Shunil Jose, Bienvenido Lumera, Cirilo Bautista, Rolando Tino. And of course, we also have our great female writers, no? Of course, Ma'am Jing, one of them. And Norma Miraflor, Paz La Torrena, Ofelia de Melanta, and many, many more. So siguro po, let's kick off things with this question. What do you think, or what makes UST historically so good at somehow churning out literary greats? Para po kasing there's something in UST. No? Is there something in, sabi nga nila, no? Ano ba iniinom na tubig dyan? So perhaps, Dr. Hidalgo, would you like to start off?
Sure. Thank you, Levin. Actually, talking about UST as the cradle of literary luminaries, you forgot Jose Rizal.
Yes.
We go all the way back to Jose Rizal. Yeah, anyway, well, the question, what makes UST the breeding ground? I wrote something, basahin ko na lang para I don't ramble and we stay within the hour. The answer is, what makes it the breeding ground is, first of all, its history. I mentioned nga Rizal. Its campus, about which, it's a legendary campus for many things, many reasons, and its literary traditions. The college that I went to, Philosophy and Letters, or PhilLets, provided a literary culture. It created a literary community. The college was a very small one. Levin, dalawa lang kaming sections. Afternoon sections for the regular students and evening section for the working students. And they offered only two majors, philosophy and journalism. You notice, hindi kasamang literature, no? Philosophy and journalism, but we were all writers. The guys in the evening section were all journalists, practicing journalists already, and the rest of us, we were writing short stories and poetry and submitting them to national newspapers, even when we were still undergraduates. One example is Rita Gadi, who won a palanca when she was only in second year college, no? So literature figured prominently in the curriculum of both philosophy majors and journalism majors. That's an unusual thing, I think, no? I think they required units of literature. Whether you be a philosophy major or a journalist, you did the same literary subjects together. And everyone believed that literature was important. Reading it, producing it, editing it. The teachers did not have to convince their students. Unlike now, no? You have to convince them to read. They had to stop us from reading so we could do other things. The teachers were not writers, except for, I'm not talking about the journalists, no? The literature teachers, only Ofi Di Malanta was actually a writer. The rest were not. But they were excellent teachers of literature, and they loved literature with a passion that was contagious. So we all caught it from them. The rest of the faculty were either journalists, copy editors, or executives of the new advertising and PR agencies. So it was an exciting world, no? These were new at the time. Many of them were also products of PhilLets. They recruited their students to work for their offices, no? So we were all, most of us were practicing journalists, but at the same time, fictionists and poets. And that was all considered to be part of life, including, another thing, of course, the campus is a romantic place. It has a wishing well. It has Angelus bells that toll at 6 o'clock, and then the Blue Cross gets lit up. Yung Paskuhan now was a Christmas fair in my time. And I think that kind of romantic environment affected all of us. That's what made us writers, maybe. That's my answer.
Ang ganda po na to put UST as a romantic place, no, where we could cultivate our imagination.
Yes.
And it's not romanticizing even, because it's actually true.
Let me add something. I have to add this. During my time, the men and the boys and girls were segregated. No, we could not talk to each other. We could not walk together on campus. There were separate canteens, separate libraries. We could just gaze at each other over the counter, which I think put all of us in a. Kasi when you're deprived, it becomes more interesting, diba? So I think that was part of it also.
That's a nice way of putting it, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Hidalgo. Perhaps we can hear from Sir Dito, no? A little bit of nostalgia there. Meron po ba?
Yeah.
Sir Dito.
Well, Jing started with history, so I'll go deeper into history. It's predisposed na that UST will be the cradle of literary titans, literary giants. No? Kasi nga, Jing and I come from AB, no? Siya sa Philets, ako sa Artlets, no? Of course, this would be, yung Artlets before was Philets, no? So Philets, now Artlets is the oldest liberal arts college in the region, no? So when you talk about UST, what is the oldest school in UST? The oldest school in UST is a ecclesiastical faculty, no? The Faculty of Philosophy, yun ang 1611. So yung Faculty of Philosophy na yun, ecclesiastical yun, no? Sacred science, no? So UST came up with a civil faculty for liberal arts in 1896, no? So pero even before, yeah, yung sina Rizal, sina Marcelo H. del Pilar, yung liberal arts nila came from the Faculty of Philosophy of the Ecclesiastical Faculty of Philosophy. So when you look at the biography of these literary giants, of these literary writers, great writers, ang laging ang background is that nag-aral sila sa UST, o nag-aral sila before that. They got their high school and their pre-baccalaureate sa Ateneo de Municipal o sa Letran. And both Ateneo de Manila and Letran Colegio de San Juan de Letran, of course, liberal arts college yan. So it teaches yung the liberal arts curriculum, no? The trivum and the quadrivum, rhetoric, logic, grammar. And then of course when they get to UST to take up their law or their medicine, it's also a university curriculum, no? So you're trained in the classical arts talaga, no? So it's already predetermined na yung mga taga UST will be at least very very good writers, very good writers. So not only si Rizal, Marcelo H. del Pilar, but yung mga second league na mga Spanish writers, Fernando Maria Guerrero, Cecilio Apostol, and Claro Emerecto, who won the grand prize in poetry, no, for the tricentennial of UST in 1911, no. So when the Americans came, of course, UST had to adjust, no? And then, of course, it took in a lot of mga American teachers to teach English, no? You have James Bass, and then yung naging daughter ni James Bass, naging teacher yata ni James, Josephine Serrano.
Yes.
Josephine Bass Serrano.
Yeah, Josephine Bass Serrano taught us Shakespeare and literary criticism.
So talagang may tradition na. Tapos nag-introduce ng Department of Tagalog, no?
Yes.
And one of the first heads would be the founder of Varsitarian, si Jose Villa Panganiban, who became the first chair of the National Language Institute, which is the commission ng Wikang Filipino now. So si Jose Villa Panganiban din ang first literary editor ng Varsitarian. Followed by the next literary editor was Paz La Torrena. Paz La Torrena was the first woman section, female section editor of the Varsitarian. No? And then makikita mo na, when the Palangka Awards were started in the early 50s, the first major winners were from UST. No? Si JC Gatbonton, one si Gatbonton.
Si Johnny, oo.
Yeah, si Johnny Gatbonton. One for Clay, and then Genoveva Edrosa Matute, one for Kwento ni Mabuti.
Yes.
No? So na yon. And then the next year si Pablo Mirasol, who was the journalist who died with Magsaysay during the plane crash.
The plane crash, yes.
Ang survival ng plane crash was also from UST, no?
Nestor Mata.
Nestor Mata, no?
Nestor Mata, journalist.
Maraming talagang makikita mo doon na predetermined na yun. Pag nag-aral ka sa UST, especially sa Philets or College of Liberal Arts, and the defunct College of Liberal Arts, which is not the College of Science. And then of
Yeah.
course, the College of Education, maraming manggagaling na writers talaga from UST.
Yeah, thank you, Sir Dito, about it sa kay Ma'am Jing. I'm particularly interested about the history because I also read in Father Villaruel's History of UST, no? Ma'am Jing talked about Jose Rizal. And one of the, I remember reading in Father Villaruel's work, meron po siyang kausap na poet din. A father, Father Arias. Si Father Arias.
Yeah.
So, it seems like there was this, I don't know if it's intentional or it just comes natural in UST that there would be some sort of environment that somehow makes the writers thrive and grow in their own ways.
Yeah.
Parang hindi po siya pilit kasi eh.
Can I contribute something there, Levin?
Yes, ma'am.
Oo, I think Philets had an atmosphere of freedom, which the other colleges did not quite have. Maliit na maliit ang Philets. So parang it was forgotten ba? So we would just do what we wanted. And in my time, we had a very, very, very liberal dean. Father Alfredo Panizo was a philosopher. He was our professor in philosophy, very open-minded. The first one to offer existentialism as a subject in the college, no? And we thrived under that kind of environment. Hindi kami iniipit. They were not very strict about the uniform. The boys and girls could talk together. Everybody wanted to belong to the varsitarian, where there was no, isolation of men and women. Everybody was together. So I think that kind of atmosphere was good for the writers.
Ganda po. Which brings me to my next question, Ma'am Jing. Is there any vivid memory of yours you would like to share that somehow figures like a literary eureka moment? When you were in UST, you somehow experienced that and you said, "Oh, I really want to be a writer, or I really want to pursue writing."
No,
It just-
Levin, I'm not I'm a little different, no? I came to Philets already decided to be a writer. I started publishing when I was in high school. I mean, publishing in the national magazines already, no? So, wala na yun. Hindi na yun doubtful. I wanted to become a practicing journalist. That's why I went to college, to become a journalist sana. But then my dean said, but you're already publishing in the newspapers. Why do you want to take journalism to become a writer? You're already a writer. You take philosophy. That will give you more depth, sabi niya, no? And anyway, as I was saying, nanalo na ng mga literary awards yung mga undergraduates pa lang nanalo na eh. And we were all publishing in the national, Free Press, Graphic, ganyan, ano? So I don't think there was a eureka moment. I will tell you a funny thing. The first time I met Nick Joaquin, he was invited to appear in a panel. I forget what panel that was. So people were making speeches. When it was the turn of Nick Joaquin, sabi niya, ay naku, nakakabore naman ito. Wag na lang tayo dito nag-speeches, inuman na lang tayo. Come on, you come with me. I will treat you. Tumayo na lang siya at lumabas dun sa kwartong yon. Sumama naman lahat itong mga lalaki. Kami, yung mga girls, hindi pa uminom ang mga girls at that time. We were not supposed to anyway. So all the guys followed him and that was the end of that forum. I never forgot that. That was not quite a eureka moment about being a writer, but it was a eureka moment about being Nick Joaquin. I saw what kind of person he was, di ba? Yun. Yun ang aking memorable.
Talking about...
Sige.
Yes po. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, ma'am, and for leading to Nick Joaquin, because we have whom people call as the Joaquinist, no? In the Philippines.
Of course.
The scholar of the works of Nick Joaquin, Sir Lito himself. Sir, I have a question because somehow you have been working in one way or another with generations of writers, with pen, also in journalism. my question would be, from your perspective, how has the literary or writing culture evolved over the years? Meron po ba? Kasi we know that there's a continuity of this kind of talent, no? This kind of grace even, for Thomasians to be good writers. From the generation of Mom Jing, to your generation, even from Jose Rizal, no? Even up to now, we have good writers, no? Having seen that kind of trajectory, is there a kind of evolution that you have noticed? Yes, Sir Dito, please.
Okay, first of all, I will also give my Nick Joaquin anecdote, no? Yung famous essay niya about culture and history, no?
Oh, yeah.
Which he was saying na yung we always deny na merong achievements during the Spanish colonial era. And he would refer to the wheel and the plow, no? Yung mga agricultural implements na inintroduce ng mga Spaniards, no? And of course yung mga mais, yung corn, yung mga plants that were introduced during the Spanish era. It's a controversial essay actually, which was supposed to many people say na they first heard it sa CCP. Actually, that was his Thomas More lecture in the early 1980s, no. I heard it, no, and it was a very controversial lecture, no. So I think one of the best legacies of the Spanish colonial era would be UST itself, no. It's the university system, the educational system. No, now about the question kung paano yung nag-transition, paano yung ano yung pagkakaiba ng literary culture ngayon sa previous generations, no. It's a sip naman, ang tanda-tanda ko, no. Pero siguro kasi
As old as Rizal.
kasi sa Philippine Pen maraming writers from the various generations, no. I think the oldest pen member ngayon si Elmer Ordonez, no.
Oo, si Elmer nga.
Elmer, magwa 100 na yata si Elmer, no? O 95 o basta he's in his mid-90s na, no? So si Elmer Ordonez. So I think wala namang pagbabago masyado. Wala namang pagbabago masyado. But of course, you'll find from the previous generations, especially those who encountered martial law, a very, very stringent political tone. There's a certain social consciousness that you would ascribe to the older generations of writers, no. Ngayon, nowadays, of course, nandun pa rin yun, no, among younger writers, no. But of course, medyo sophisticated na, So I think it has come it is because of technology, no. Ngayon pag magsusulat ka, you cannot even your writing would be determined by technology, no. Siguro hindi most of the writers now would be harnessing yung social media, and of course because of yung technology ng social media, medyo mababago yung the way you write, no. Siguro yung long form will be somehow revised, no, kasi nga you need to make an immediate impact sa social media. Pero at the same time, you can tackle subjects, more demanding subjects, siguro longer form, also in the social media kasi nga sa online wala namang space restrictions, no? But of course, tsaka yung preoccupations ngayon mas varied, no? It's not alone politics, but quite an amorphous lot, no. Siguro yung complaint natin na hindi ganun na medyo political apathetic yung Gen Z ngayon, that's not true naman, no. It's just that maraming preoccupations ngayon ng all generations na maraming preoccupations, no? Pero ngayon, syempre yung mga Gen Z, there are other considerations, there are other matters to attend to, no? So I think we're still in transition. We have yet to see kung paano kung ano yung definite complexion ng contemporary writing, no? Kasi pabago-bago talaga, especially technology.
Yeah. Thank you about that, Sir Dito. May tanong ako doon kasi it seems like nagbabago yung mode of writing. Kahit yung mga haba ng sinusulat, no? When you talk about long form, and then with social media posts right now, if you go to some social media sites, limited lang yung characters. So,
Mm.
do you think will that have uh, an effect on perhaps the habits, literary habits, or the discipline that would be somehow developed by writers today? And is it a good thing, or what do you think?
Well, you talk about literary habits. Of course, it will further abet yung short attention span. Short
Yeah.
attention span ng mga writers natin and readers, of course, no. Very demanding ngayong you don't even consider the writer now as a writer, no, as a literary writer, no. Ano siya, content creator siya, content producer siya. And much of the content should be, of course, will be suited to an audience that has short attention span, no. Ito yung TikTok generations na gusto nila makita yung images, makita yung storya in a matter of seconds, no? Kasi they'll get bored, no? So, magkakaroon ng impacto sa the way we write, the way we deliver the message, the way we consume yung literary stuff, yung mga text na to, magbabago yan, no? Kasi nga that's a given, no? That's what Marshall McLuhan says, no? Na yung human sensitivity natin, how we receive messages, how we consume messages, will be determined pretty much by technology, no?
Yeah.
So ito nga, well, winarning nga na tayo ni Marshall McLuhan, no, new illiteracy, no? So it's with us right now. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Sir
Levin,
Dito. Ma'am Jing, yes.
Levin, may I just say
Yes, please.
something about that question?
Yes.
While I agree with Lito, and that's obvious, no, about the attention span and everything, I want to mention, however, that because of developments in the publishing world, the writers now are writing much more than they used to.
Yeah.
There's so many writers now. Nung time natin, nung time, mabibilang mo, we all knew each other. Ngayon, ang dami-dami na nila. And they're all publishing books.
Yeah.
So while the books are not of the length of Nick Hawkins' books and NVM, maiikli sila, pero madami silang napapublish, no? And the other thing is they are experimenting in so many different genres, particularly speculative fiction, the different varieties of speculative fiction, no? So I am encouraged by that particular tendency. I don't know either where that will head, but I notice that they have that. They have very high energy, and they have access to the literatures of the world at in a way that we did not as much, no, when we were starting out to write. So that is a good thing, I think, no.
Yeah.
And now with the Frankfurt, I think that's also another wonderful development.
Yes, thank you, Ma'am Jing. Yeah, Frankfurt is a good development as well. No, voices are being heard.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So, yeah, thank you. Ang ganda po. Kasi yung kay Sir Lito, when he talked about short attention span, it's not only in literary world, in the literary world that it's being an issue. Not exactly a problem, but an issue. It's being talked about. So, kahit sa ating education or even in psychology, it's an issue that people are talking about it. But tama naman, we cannot really say that it's a problem right away.
Mm-mm.
It's still something to be discussed. And ang ganda po yung kay Ma'am Jeng, yung sinabi ni Ma'am Jeng na there are a lot of writers now because they are being encouraged to write. There is uh there is an avenue. There are platforms available right now for writers to experiment. There's a huge room for them to explore. And yeah, that's encouraging. Again, po. And then we talked about earlier about history. I just don't know just yet how we can reconcile yung sinabi ni Sir dito is short attention span in history and how perhaps writing can bridge that.
Yeah.
Eventually, writing can bridge that. Ang
Yeah.
ganda po. Moving forward, there are in UST, for example, there are institutions within the institution that seem to be vessels or vehicles to move the tradition forward.
Yeah.
Para pong they carry the tradition so that the next generations would be able to write, no? To be animated by the romanticism of the UST's campus. And some of the institutions, please add, kung meron po akong ma-miss, of course, the Faculty of Arts and Letters. That would be one of the best institutions. We have the Varsitarian, the UST Publishing House, the Center for Creative Writing and Literary Studies. All of these, no, somehow uh, give avenues, outlets for Arthomasians, especially the students and even professors, to express their literary, yeah, their literary side of them. So let me ask, how do you think these institutions help shape the literary legacy of Thomasians right now? How important are these institutions? Yun po. Perhaps we could start with Dr. Hidalgo.
Okay. I know that when I was a student, the Varsitarian was already playing a major role. All of us wanted to eventually become staff members of the Varsitarian. And I think that the position of literary editor was very, very prestigious. So you could become news editor, and that's primarily newspaper. So you would think most students would want to be news editors. Pero kami sa Philets, we all wanted to be literary editor, no? And then the Rector's Literary Contest Award, which is now Estetica, that already existed. So there is no question in my mind of the importance that the Varsi played in or has played all these years for this to ensure that this literary culture continues, no? And I'm so glad to see that even now, because I am somehow participating in the Varsi still by I am invited often to be part of the selection committee for the staff members to come. I am encouraged because I feel that they are all aware of this. They are aware of this tradition and they want to live up to it. And although in some ways some of them might be disappointing, I think that the best of them are equal to the best that I knew in my time. And one very good sign I take, no, in my time there were no female editors in chief. The very first woman editor of the Varsitarian was Jean Pope. She was my boss. Before her, the highest women got to was managing editor. That was Julie Dasa. And before that, wala talaga. They were all men, and in fact, they were even medical students primarily. I don't know whether that's because they were really better than the journalists or they were just really considered gods or whatever, no? Kasi medicine, mahirap. But with Jean, that glass ceiling was broken. And I was happy to see every year when I participate in these interviews, ang daming babaeng sumasali. And they get, I think, more or less the same number of jobs that the boys get. So that I take to be a very encouraging thing.
Thank you, Ma'am Jing. Yes, that's right. Kahit ako po, I was encouraged to write more when I won in Ostetica. So it really gives us an extra boost. Boost in confidence, boost in yeah, trust in oneself that you could really express more, especially in literary genres. Yeah. Sir Lito, you were there for most of those times na, na sinabi ni Ma'am
Most
Jing.
of those times.
Oh, since we're talking about institutions, within the institution, minention mo na yung outlets, mentioning ko rin yung PhilEts, no? It's a good thing na ngayon yung yung outlets, especially the Alumni Association, talagang sinasama na yung PhilEts kasi
Oo.
oo, kasi dapat
Ah.
talagang magkasama yung PhilEts and outlets kasi talagang isa lang naman talaga yung yung pinanggagalingan nilang institution, which is the which was the creation of the Civil Faculty of Arts and Letters of Philosophy and Letters in 1896, no. Ang dami kasing talagang magagaling na writers, journalists and publishers galing sa PhilEts, no. So even the founder of the Inquirer, si Eugenia Duran Apostol, was
Oo, right.
PhilEts,
Yeah.
no? PhilEts.
Oo.
Tapos si yung International Press Freedom Award din natin, si Joe Burgos. Si Joe
Ay,
Burgos,
yes.
PhilEts,
He
no?
was my
So,
classmate, by the way. At
oh,
first, he was my classmate. Then he became my student. Hindi
yeah.
kasi nag-graduate si Joe Burgos.
Oh, he never graduated.
He never graduated. He was too
Oh.
busy writing for the newspapers.
And then of course, many of our national artists are PhilEts, no? Si F. Lose,
Cirilo.
Ben Banido Lumbera, and then of course Rolando Tino, no?
Yes.
Si Rolando Tino, like Jing, philosophy ang kinuha niya.
Oo, puro
No?
fillets yan. Pati si Bien
Oh.
Lumbera.
Kaya si Bien Lumbera, no? So when he was teaching in Ateneo, tapos he would talk to the Jesuits, especially about philosophy. Sabi niya, he would often tell them, hindi pa sa Salamanca yan. No, he would refer to the University of Salamanca,
Yeah.
no? One of the oldest universities, no, founded by the Dominicans, no. In any case, you already mentioned the Varsitarian, and ang dadagdag ko lang dyan is that the Varsitarian is the only campus paper to have an entry in the CCP Encyclopedia of Philippine Art, no?
Really?
So
The only one?
siya lang, the only one. 1990 or 1991 edition, and then the new edition, which was 2018, na nandun pa rin yung nandun pa rin yung entry ng Varsitarian, ng Varsitarian. And then of course, in the digital edition of the encyclopedia, andun pa rin yung Varsitarian, no? So the only school paper to be mentioned in the CCP Encyclopedia of Philippine Art, not only because it's a campus paper that yielded writers, but also it also yielded mga visual artists like Danny Dalena, mga top
You're right.
J.
and of
Elizalde
course,
Navarro.
and of course, national artist for the visual arts, si J. Elizalde Navarro. No? Of course, yun ang reputation ng Varsi. And then you didn't mention, of course, you mentioned also the UST Publishing House,
Yes.
or formerly the UST Press, no? Talagang you cannot deny that the UST Press or the UST Publishing House is an institution that has produced a lot of great literary works, no. In fact, ngayon, even up to now, no, yung typographical investigations like researchers like Professor Jorge Mojaro, makikita doon kung ano yung mga titles na publish ng UST, very very immense across the centuries, no, including Father Blanco's Flora de Manila, yung compilation ng mga botanical works, no. So some of the volumes were printed in the UST Press, no. So, and then of course up to now, no, UST Publishing House continues to produce great works, no, of literature. And then of course, hindi nyo na-mention yung UST Library, no. Sa UST Library, andun yung
Sorry po.
sa Tejano de Manila, no, di ba?
Yes.
Si Nick Joaquin donated his own library to the UST library. And then of course, when I was researching on my dissertation, andun pala yung mga papers niya, Fernando Maria Guerrero, no, collected by his daughters, no, nandun sa. So may mga papers si Fernando Maria Guerrero, almost complete, no? Whatever would be saved, no? Kasi nasunog yung bahay ng mga Guerreros, as we all know, sa Ermita. And then of course, UST Archives, no? And then of course, yung UST Heritage Library, no? Yung mga hindi na out of print na ng mga works ng mga great Filipino writers, especially in Spanish, they're there nasa UST Heritage Library. So talagang all of this would reinforce the reputation of UST as really the cradle of Philippine letters.
And Lito, may I also mention, kasi when I came back to UST, di ba, after I retired from UP in 2010, I was made the director of the publishing house. At that time, there was this project not begun by me but my predecessor, Micheline Manalastas, yung 400 at 400. I mean that was a game changer.
Yeah.
I was brought in to finish the last 45 books in 1 year. But
Yeah.
before that, she had been working on these 400 books. So, nung lumabas ito, I think nanalo ang UST na kung ilang National Book Awards yon.
Yeah.
That made it really like a standard to be followed, no? This pressured all the other university publishing houses, not just to produce quality, which was of course a given, but that quantity was also important. And before that, parang nagkaroon ng, kasi hindi ba yung Phillips namatay na nga, no? And then there were parang the writers who left, yung generation nila Neil Garcia, they were not immediately replaced. So for a while, UST was lost from the literary consciousness of the industry, no? The literary industry. Pero with these 400 books, talagang came back with a grand slam, no? So I must pay tribute to Micheline for that.
Yeah.
Opo. I remember that, Ma'am Jing.
Oo, tayo yun, Levin.
Opo, tayo po yun. And you were saying, you're telling us, we need to produce 40 plus books for this year. And you were quite concerned that after 1 year, you produced more than 50.
Absolutely. Yun din Lito, no? That team, I don't know where they came from. I only had one of them. Sino ba yung babae, Levin? Yung galing sa UP? Christine ba yun? Christine. She's the one I hired. The rest, I think it was Lito who put you all together, no? Including the artists. My God, that was some team, really. Imagine 45 books 50 books within that year. Galing nila eh. They didn't need any supervision. They were just self-motivated. Grabe talaga.
Yes.
Tsaka we had some help from Carl Joe Javier, no?
Yes.
Siya yung UP, but everybody else tumasyan talaga.
And if I may add po, coming from experience, Ma'am Jing, I remember every Monday we would be having meetings.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts of those meetings is that you would ask us, how do you like what you're reading?
Yeah.
And it felt like we were not working at all. we were reading books. And it was an empowering, we developed it as a habit because it had to be our work.
So
But yeah, siguro thank you for that, ma'am, kasi it somehow sustained my love
pleasure.
for reading, no? Kahit ano yun, literary, academic.
Oo.
Maganda po. Thank you po.
You're welcome. By the way, si Lito was also part of the UST Publishing House, di ba?
Yes, director, former director.
Of the publishing house, yeah.
Yun po. Thank you. So that would be for the institutions. Now, we have little time po to end this session, but
Levin, don't forget the Creative Writing Center.
Yes.
It's the other institution.
Opo. Yes.
Perhaps Jing could talk about the Center for Creative Writing and Literary Studies. Diba?
I just talk about the concept because I think the concept was that it should be both a literary academy as well as a writing center. No? So to be part of it, the writers had to qualify. This was by invitation. So we had certain qualifications, primarily that they would have published one book. And I wanted it to become very prestigious so that the writers on campus would want to belong to it, no? And I'm hoping that with our programs and our projects, we were able to do this. So it became an academy of writers. Now, everyone that is part of that, we are now around 14, I think, are published writers, award winners. That they were the faculty of the newly created creative writing department, which as a result of that, I think at least partially, is also prestigious because there are now two sections where they started out with only half a section. So
Wow.
it's attracting students and good students, no? So I take that as a good sign. And then aside from that being a literary academy, which sounds self-serving, there's the other part of it. So it's a literary hub for the country, not just, I mean, that was the aim, no? That it should have programs, projects which would attract writers belonging to other institutions, no? And that help to create a literary literature for the nation, not just for UST. Ayun. So that's the path that I wanted to set, and I think my colleagues have really done well. So I'm proud of them. Yun.
Yes, thank you. Opo, ang ganda po ng creative writing. We call it Creative Writing Center, but CCW as formally. Kapag may workshop po kayo, di ba, you still hold the National Writing Workshop, but you
No,
developed
no.
it into another form
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, we're pioneering a new form kasi ang dami-dami ng creative writing workshops, di ba? We decided that that's enough of that. This is an idea of Chuck Berry Pascual's, which is mentoring mainly. It's called the National Writing Fellowship now. We invite alternate years prose writers and poetry and dramatic writers, and it instead of the usual format where everybody sits around critiquing each work, we provide mentors who are both from the resident fellows of the center, and we have guest mentors. So this year, which was poetry and drama and film, we invited Oreo Solito, Vim Nadera, and Vic Torres. No? Sila yung guest mentors. And then the in-house poets and film script writers and yun, ano. So the year before, fiction and nonfiction. We're experimenting here, Levin. We've had very good feedback from our fellows. So maybe we'll keep doing this for a while and see how it goes.
I see the promise in the project po. Kasi meron na pong project po talaga na simulan.
Oo.
And what we are just trying to do is to eventually give birth to it.
Yes. Yeah,
Opo, mas malapit na po.
That's a good way of putting it. They come in with already the baby. No,
Opo.
we will nurture the baby a little and see what will happen.
Opo. In a few years' time, I'm sure.
There will be more books, no?
Opo, we'll have more books. Ang ganda po kasi meron na po talagang output that can be seen not far from now. Opo. Si Sir Lito, Sir, yung book ninyo, kailan po ilalabas?
Nasa publishing house na yata eh.
Congratulations!
Oh, it's already with the publishing house.
But it's about kasi poetry. Sir Lito?
Yes,
Tama po, it's poetry in
dissertation.
Spanish
Yeah,
poetry.
it's about Spanish Philippine poetry. Pero
Is it
it's about
dissertation?
it's literary history, literary analysis, no, of Spanish Philippine poetry during the golden age of Spanish letters, during the American colonial era, no. So ironic na nagkaroon ng siglo de oro
Oo
ang
nga.
Spanish letters sa Philippines during the American colonial era.
That's new knowledge, you know. I didn't know that. Most of us were not aware of this Spanish literature during the American period.
Opo, maganda po siya may publish na, sir.
My advisor has asked me to deliver the paper in a conference, no, sa mga trans-Hispanic studies, no.
Wow.
This yeah. So, hindi, March pala next year, no?
Yung pala, Levin, we should also mention that, no? UST is not only producing the creative writers, no? But the literary scholars also.
Yes.
Mataas ang quality ng kayo yon, mga literary scholars, di ba?
Yeah, yung ano, yung mga unang scholars ng Philippine literature were from UST. Arsenio Manuel is from
Yes.
UST. Arsenio Manuel, si Teresita Coronel, si Delia Coronel, no? Teresita Infante and Delia Coronel, no? Were from UST. No?
And I think
Oh,
a couple of young scholars, sinabi sa akin ni Elil, who are
Hmm.
doing these studies of the Catholic imagination
Yeah,
in our fiction and poetry, di ba? So that's good.
With that note po, how do you think or ano, bakit po importante ang literary scholarship? Because sometimes I see that kahit ako po, guilty po ako dito when I was much younger, parang we would want to jump right away to writing and skipping literary scholarship. Pero eventually, I myself learned that should not be the way to go because there is wisdom in going through all. Parang sinabi nga sa amin dati when we were studying poetry, learn the rules first before you break them. Parang ganun po. Parang learn the rules first before you break them. But how exactly is literary scholarship important in developing writers? Yun po. Ma'am Jing?
I think it's very important because you need to introduce these writers to our own students and to the general public, di ba? So this is the job of the literary scholars. Even if you write and write, if nobody naman pays attention to your work, nobody really critiques it in a serious way, pointing out what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and what you are contributing to the body of knowledge, that's a limitation on your own development, no? So the literary scholarship helps not just the writers but the audience, introducing the writers to the audience and encouraging the production of more literature which has been attentively read. And that is the job of the scholars, I think. The irony of it, Levin, is in our country, the literary scholars, many of them are also the writers, di
Writers.
ba? Like Lito Zulueta is a poet, di ba? I am primarily a fictionist. Tayo rin ang di ba, na we'll start that way. Eventually, there will be more, I think, more and more. Like in any discipline, kailangan yung scholarship.
Yes. Sir Lito?
Kasi sa akin because most of our literary types and forms are inherited from Latin Europe and Spain,
Yes.
from yung mga literary types and forms ng Anglo-American culture, so I think you need literary scholarship to somehow distinguish kung yung Filipino contribution to all of these inherited literary types and forms. So for that
That's good.
matter, paano transform ng Filipino itong mga inherited literary types and forms from the West and made them his own, or made them his or her own. So I think that's a task of the literary scholar nowadays, no? Makita mo kunwari sa work ng national artists for literature, especially Resil Mojares, no? Si Resil Mojares started as a fictionist, no? He won the Palanca for his short fiction. Pero through the years, naging literary scholar siya. And makikita mo dun sa literary scholarship niya, sa cultural scholarship niya, yung how the Filipinos, kunwari yung yung dissertation niya is about the novel, the Filipino novel, no? Yung novel is a Western form, no? Pero yung mga Filipino, yung mga Filipino novelists, whether Tagalog, Cebuano, Bisaya, or Ilocano, they made the novel their own, no? So I think that's the task of the literary scholars.
Oh, siguro, thank you for that. We're
Time na.
overtime na po. Pero just one question na lang po. Just one question before I let you go. Sige, briefly, how how can the literary tradition of UST remain perhaps relevant in the society that is being more leaning towards yung pong uh, fast-paced, uh, economy-oriented. Kasi para pong there seems to be a shift in education that we should go to sciences, engineering, uh, parang doon na po napupunta yung focus eh. Pero how do we make literature, writing, even journalism more relevant at this day and age? Yun po.
You know, Levin, if I may, no, short lang yung akin. I think the fact that it's relevant is not questioned. Eh. What I think is necessary for within UST, no, to let me stick to UST, no. I think what's important is to reward the writers financially. To consider the financial thing is just a symbol, no, of value. Unfortunately, ganun yun, no. Kung hindi ka, you're not given, you can do it, no? So if they could see that their work is valued as much as the scientists' work is, they will go on working. And that's the only way to keep on nurturing literature and all the arts. So I'm trying, the center will try to propose a system which hopefully the university will take into consideration that will take that up. It's a pragmatic answer to your question.
I agree. I totally agree with it. Thank you, Ma'am Jing. It's a practice also being done in other universities abroad too. Yes po. Thank you po. Sir Dito.
Well, ano naman let's stick to UST na lang, no? May ano naman ang UST naman as an institution, may investments sa arts and letters, sa humanities, no? You can see that kasi pinagpatuloy nila yung they've revived the Center for Creative Writing and
Yes,
Literary
that's true.
Studies, no?
Yeah.
And then of course they have all of these colleges involved in the humanities like fine arts and design, Conservatory of Music, no? And even the ecclesiastical faculties naman nakafocus yan sa humanities and humanism, no? Siguro nga, pero yun nga, siguro for arts and letters and the humanities to become more relevant, siguro there is a need for UST to really to really invest more on culture, no? So it's very very telling now while we have an Office of Student Affairs, Office for Public Affairs, no, Institute of Religion, wala kang cultural affairs office, no.
Oo nga.
Yung sila yung makagawa ng kunwari during when Artlet celebrated its 100th anniversary in 1996, no. Si Ofi Di Malanta, nag-mount siya ng opera, no? Opera written by her and Flor Ornedo, at least the libretto, the book on San Lorenzo Ruiz de Manila, no? Escribano. That's the title of the opera. And then the music was done by Jerry Dadap, who was at that time teaching in the conservatory, no? With some coaching from Father Maramba, no? And then of course the design was made by the people from the faculty of from the college of at that time architecture and fine arts pa yun, no? So pinagsama-sama itong mga faculties na to, itong mga colleges na to make this opera, and only the colleges, schools, and centers involved in the humanities can mount such a very very big production, no? So I think there's for the university to really make the humanities relevant, kailangan magkaroon siya ng cultural office that will somehow invest in all of these cultural productions, no, in all of this what we call now as cultural content creation, no. Kailangan talaga ng content, no. Dapat magkaroon ng content which and maski na tong bridges ito, this is content, no, content creation, no. Pero yun nga, UST is the only university that can do that, no, kasi nga it's the oldest university, no, and the oldest university will always have the liberal arts and the centers for all of these humanities, no, mga humanity sections, so I think in that way, we can make relevant not only arts and letters, but arts and
With the
culture and the
arts.
humanities.
But I will add lang, Levin, one word na
Yes.
lang. I have to thank UST, no? Because of the center was actually their idea. They decided to revive the Center for Creative Writing, and they have been unstinting in support for it. So no doubt that's I'm grateful for that. All writers are grateful for that.
Apo. Thank you po. And I don't want to sound defensive, pero because I'm also in the office, no. We recently supported some of the members of the Creative Writing Center Literary Studies for in their endeavors no po sa si Jose Mojica. He went to
Yeah, to speak outside, no? Internationally, yes.
Yes, and also we're also helping the Conservatory of Music. So recently they went to some music festivals elsewhere.
So that's
we're-
another institution that we have to mention. Your office.
Opo, we're doing it with the help of the UST Research and Endowment Foundation. Yes po. And as we conclude, opo, sorry we don't have more time, but perhaps kung magkakaroon pa ng next session, hopefully. But to close our session this time, or episode, perhaps we could ask some closing remarks from our dear guest. Let's start with Dr. Sulweta.
Yeah, well, I would like to thank the UST Alumni Association and the Faculty of Arts and Letters for inviting us here dito sa Bridges program, no? Definitely, I was surprised ang 195th edition na pala to, no? And when they told me about this, and then 195 years of this will constitute a good oral history of the institution of the University of Santo Tomas, and I'm very, very grateful for that. No, so I'd like to encourage our alumni to read the books of our of UST literary writers. No, to read Tomas Journal of the Creative Writing Center, and then of course for everyone to contribute to the flourishing of arts and letters and the humanities in the University of Santo Tomas. Thank you.
Jing?
I only have to say thank you. Thank you so much for the support. The College of Arts, Faculty of Arts and Letters, and the Alumni Association. Without you, we would not be able to exist.
So, thank you so much, Dr. Cristina Pantoja Hidalgo and Dr. Dito Sulweta, for your insight, wit, and stories today. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. Until next time. So, reminding you, no, in the halls of UST, you're never too far from writer. Laging merong writer dyan. And before we end the episode, we ask our viewers to follow the UST AAI Facebook page and to subscribe to the TACFI YouTube channel. And here in Bridges, we do not build walls. We build connections of people, connections of knowledge. Here at Bridges, we build bridges of faith, bridges of hope, and bridges of love. Thank you and good night.
Night.
In homes and screens our lights unite. Classrooms stretch beyond four walls. Through every challenge day and night, our faith and growth still calls. Parents guide with gentle hands. Teachers walk each step inside. Together building future lands where values never hide. Though paths may shift and seasons change, our hearts stay close, our goals arrange. A journey set by trust and care, a mission we all share. These are the bridges we create. From schools of hope, from heart to heart. Learning grows and values shape. In every role we play our part. Work in progress day by day. Hand in hand we find our way. Bridges of hope, bridges of grace. In this UST learning space.